Hello, Editing Star here. Just a quick disclaimer to say this episode was recorded before we all found out about the news about what was happening with Doctor Who, so please be aware some of this may have aged like milk. Enjoy!
Hello, you awful people. Welcome to An Awful Lot Running, a Doctor Who podcast.
Way.
Okay, so we are gathered here on this auspicious occasion to mourn 20 years to the day, actually, when this goes out.
Yeah. Since Love and Monsters.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, mourning Linda, as it were.
Yeah.
A moment of silence, which...
We are indeed, we're in Linda's final resting place, or at least 3 of the members of Linda. You know.
Yes.
Bless Bliss, of course.
Bless Bliss, you know.
Yes.
Mr. Skinner. Oh, Mr. Skinner. Bridget.
Bridget, of course, as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Bridget.
So, you know, we're here, we're mourning Linda. What's Linda stand for again, Rory?
London Investigation and Detective Agency.
Excellent, yes. Yeah, that's the
Linda
first time.
Linda, not with a Y.
Yeah, no.
Not with
no.
a Y.
No, that's a different.
That's a different Linda. May she also rest in peace, you know. Gotta remember Linda.
Absolutely. But of course, as well, I suppose we should say, you know, to old Victor Kennedy, the Azorblov himself, you know, if anyone's mourning him, I suppose it'd be the Azorblov's father.
Yeah,
know,
of course.
Parent, you know, obviously. Shout out to you, Channel Pup.
Yeah, well now Pup now.
Oh,
Change
yeah,
the channel
Pup
to
now,
just Pup.
Yeah, Pup. Shout out to you, Pup. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we thought about it and we've examined the area. This is where the story ends. This is where the Doctor and Rose appear and the Azorblov is absorbed into these paving sides here. We believe this to be the one.
This could be the one.
We think this is the one where David Tennant goes down and shouts,
Alton, fetch a spade. Oish.
But I suppose
I both really just wanted to come here and pay our respects in a moment of silence, and you know, Victor Kennedy as well. You know, as you said, good old Victor Kennedy with his eczema, and you know, just to all the members of Linda and anyone who feels like they're a part of Linda. You know, it's just a nice moment. You know, and for, of course, Ursula as well.
yes.
Ursula.
I will remember you. Will you remember me?
But of course, you know, Ursula did live on in quite a horrific fate.
Quite a horrific way, but she got a bit of a love life.
She did get with a love life.
And long may it continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I'll say now is, hello, you awful, awful people, and welcome to An Awful Lot Running, a Doctor Who podcast. You would have seen that lovely little bit of video if you're watching on YouTube, but if not, please go and check that out, because you'll see straight away who my guest is today. And it's quite funny, really, because I'm sat here with someone who was our first guest on this show.
Yes, I was.
You
Wow.
were, yeah.
Oh wow! I completely didn't register that I was your first.
Yeah.
You the
Guest.
first guest. Yeah, no, that was so long ago now. So long ago, but that was a great time as well.
Yeah. In case you haven't guessed, in case you haven't seen it, my guest is indeed Ruaidhri Guest.
The definitive article.
Yeah,
article.
The
genuine article. Sorry.
I was going to, genuine article, but it's fine. But I was going to say the artist formerly known as Rasslon Productions, but you know.
It's very true. I was formerly known as Rasslon Productions, but now I'm Ruaidhri Guest. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And in case you haven't guessed as well, we're we're recording this live. We're together in the same room.
Yeah, I don't know, because the first time we did a podcast, it was more or less COVID lockdown times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then we definitely wouldn't have been in the same room doing a podcast. But also, we're in the same room now. We're in my uni, actually, doing a podcast, which is where they filmed The Man Who Never Was, the final Sarah Jane story. So this is quite exciting, actually, doing something Doctor Who related and something podcast related here.
It's quite funny as well, because we will be talking about the fact that it's 20 years since, the widely adored, enamoured Love and Monsters. But we're actually sat in a room right now which overlooks the car park where Elton and the Azorble have had their final stand. So, yeah.
We're about 12 minutes away from Linda HQ itself. Not to dox the uni too much. I mean, it's a big building, so... But no, we're 12 minutes away from Linda HQ, the location that was used for that. Right outside, as you said, is the car park. And, it just goes to show that anywhere in Cardiff can be a Doctor Who filming location.
And it's really funny, because the amount of times I've probably parked in that car park or walked by it and never realised. And now I go over, I'm like, yeah, that's the paving slabs.
Yeah, you were probably just... You were probably just standing on Victor Kennedy.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, it's fair to say that although we're big fans of it, this is quite a Marmite episode in the fandom, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think that's always been the case, even though I've seen it getting more love as of recent years, and I think there's quite a contrarian sort of viewpoint at certain points on Twitter, where people... hype up an episode that was really disliked, but I think it has gotten that genuine love in recent years, but it is still a Marmite episode. There will always be a Marmite element to it.
Yeah, I think part of that comes down to it being it's the first modern spectacle in the terms of having a Dr. Light episode, which would very much become a staple of the RTD era as well, which each year we'd be sort of looking forward to that, and and I think there's some people that go into Doctor Who and want to see the title character in a large capacity in every episode, which I completely understand, but I think that people that sort of don't look beyond that are really missing out on a really beautiful piece of drama here. Like I genuinely think it's one of my favourite pieces of drama I've seen, whether it be Doctor Who or not. So there are performances in this which I think are absolutely some of the best I've seen in the show. I'm not talking about Victor Kennedy, I'm not talking about the Azorble off. Look, he chooses the scenery, but we'll come to all that in a second. But yeah, it is funny. It set off this trend of Dr. Light, didn't it? Because we had this, Blink.
This walked so Blink could run, essentially, and turn left.
Yes, yeah.
And Dot and Bubble. And,
73 yards.
73 yards.
Yeah.
And,
Lucky Day.
Yeah. Lucky Day. This episode walked so all those could run. Which is, I think it deserves the credit for that, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's, not just because it does that, but also it freed up, like, David and Billy, for example, in this to go and film other episodes and other things. And it is seen as, like, the cheap episode, which, you might want, because it does free up those funds to go to other things. I imagine, for example, the Beast was quite expensive,
Yes, and the Werewolf.
Yes,
and the Battle of Canary Wharf, I imagine that did take up quite a bit of the budget. And for this episode to kind of enable those episodes to exist, I'm happy for this to exist, for those to exist.
Exactly. Like, if we have to have Marc Warren being chased by Peter Kay in a weird suit on the streets of Cardiff, to get things like the Beast in the Satan pit, then I will quite happily, I'll pay that. I'll take that. But I suppose let's get into the episode proper, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Straight away, I love the framing device of the episode. The old being idea that it's Elton giving a video diary or setting up that, but it also sets up him as being this unreliable narrator as well, which I think is really cool. There's when we first see Elton coming in, and we see obviously he meets the Doctor and he sees Rose there, and it all goes a bit Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby Doo, I see you.
He's setting it up for the sort of drama of it, and the sort of, you can already see that there's this sort of whimsy with Elton in how he presents his story.
Yeah.
I think there's something quite timeless in how they structure it, and how they, with the sort of video diary sort of vlogger type elements to this episode that has only aged better and better as time has gone on.
He'd be posting on TikTok now, wouldn't he?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, we even had inspirations from this, obviously, for Lucky Day, which was kind of twisted.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that this sort of narrative device does tend to age well, and has aged well with Love and Monsters. I also think it allows that sort of personal touch, you know.
Yeah.
You get to know everything you need to know about Elton within the first 10 minutes of the episode. You get to know his sort of state of mind, his interest in music, where he lives, how he lives. You get
Also,
sort of,
how he factors in the universe as well, because we have those lovely moments where we have like the big events of series 1, and then from Christmas as well, the Christmas Invasion, reframed through his eyes as an everyman, you know?
oh yeah, it's some beautiful world building, really. I mean, it's a staple of the first, and I'd say the second Rusty Davies eras, that world building is key to that, especially the first one. I mean, the world building in that era is sublime, it's amazing. But this episode is a testament to that, and in many ways, as I said earlier, with this episode allowing Blink to run, it is very much a precursor to a similar sort of way of how the world building is done with Turn Left. I mean, you know, these invasions and big alien incursions happening from the perspective of a normal everyday person. Obviously, Turn Left is a bit more bleak and dystopian.
Yes.
But it's still very much, you know, this is, they're like two sides of the same coin, in that this is sort of a more positive outlook on all of it, and how, you know, obviously bittersweet, I'd say. Meanwhile, Turn Left is completely dystopian, sadness, depression. But it's quite, yeah.
You've just made me realise that in the Turn Left alternate universe, there's still Elton with a Ursula paving flat.
Ursula still exists in the Turn Left timeline.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a wow. That's an edit, isn't it? Oh my god. Okay. I gotta say, I've always really enjoyed this episode. I have, and I think it is through Elton, and I mean, shout out to Marc Warren, who gives a fantastic performance. It's really something to come in and, you know, this isn't really an episode of Doctor Who, it's an episode of Elton Pope. You know, so to come in and basically become the main character for an episode of this long-established, long-running sci-fi show is no easy task, you know, so
he really does manage to make him likeable.
Yes.
He's a likeable leading man. Again, I think that's very much comes down to the writing as well. Because at the beginning of the story especially, there is that sort of whimsical nature to Elton. He does have that sort of innocence to him.
Yeah.
And I do believe that this story is about growing up. There are certain elements to it about Elton sort of, and we'll get to it more thoroughly throughout this talk, but you can especially see it in the first 10, 20 minutes even.
Yeah.
His sort of whimsical joy, which is
Yeah,
nice.
because you seem to say, it's not all about the Doctor. Like, I like football, and I like a drink, and I said, of course, I love
Jeff Lynne and the Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat a bit of ELO.
I was obsessed with Mr. Blue Sky when this came out. It literally, I'm trying to remember, what did I have? It wasn't an iPod. I had I had an MP3 player. I think it was like a Sony Walkman that looked like a purple pebble. I remember just playing Mr. Blue Sky on repeat.
I mean,
after listening to after watching this episode.
The soundtrack of this episode. I mean,
Yes.
it's such an inventive and unique way to really allow this episode to stand alone in using ELO and a brief moment of Elton John, of course, but mainly ELO. I personally adore ELO and Jeff Lynne. I mean, they're incredible.
Yes.
And the way that those songs are used throughout this story to show Linda bonding, I love the musical bit where they're all singing badly. They're all badly singing, which I imagine they're all very talented singers, so that must be a bit difficult. But
what's really, I noticed it today that, you know, we see that bit first when they're all bad singers, but when you have the flashback towards the end of the episode, they all sound really good.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that rose tinted glasses, or almost like, you know, that, again, showing Elton to be this, you know, this narrator who can't give the full story correctly because it's in his memory. So it's like, you know, it's...
Well, you know, I mean, distorted memories and that sort of rose-tinted glasses and how that's impacted by trauma is, of course, a key theme throughout the story, especially in regards to Elton's mother, which I assume we'll also get onto later on as well. But I feel like that's beautifully done. I personally love, and tying that into the Electric Light Orchestra conversation, that final moment with his mum going into the light, set to ELO, is truly actually like beautiful. It's a beautiful moment in Doctor Who, and I know a lot of people think about the 5 minutes that happen afterwards, but that moment right there when he realises his mother's died and that he's locked it away due to the childhood, the sort of scar tissue of losing her as a young kid. I mean, it's beautifully done. I assume we'll get onto it later on.
Oh yeah, we will definitely. You know, he has that. You know, when we first hear Ursula's voice, we see him outside his childhood home, don't we? And he says, you know, he says there are two women that live there now who are a bit severe. It's a lovely bit, and then you do see this. You see the whimsy sort of fade out of him a second. He sort of he starts recalling.
He spaces out.
Yeah,
you know, he stops the recording. You know, you can see it's genuinely sort of etched itself into who he is. You know, he's got it there. He's got those memories. He knows how he feels. He just needs to unlock more throughout the story to understand what happened and his perspective and what he's locked away that he needs to process, which I think is also a great narrative device. It's always it's a great theme throughout the story. Is innocence. Innocence is a key theme to this story. Because I think Elton, as I said, when Elton starts off, he immediately has the idea for what to call Linda. He's treating it like a game.
Yeah.
And he suddenly starts to realise, he gets these friends and they all start to realise that while the Doctor brought them together, that's not what it's about.
Yes.
It's about singing songs and bonding and having fun and truly just enjoying their time together. But then, snap, Victor Kennedy appears.
Yeah, this is what I've got down on my notes. I say literally, it's so interesting seeing Linda as a representation of the Doctor Who fandom. These people coming together through this love or interest in the Doctor, becoming real friends or even a found family. You know, I can think of you and me. We became friends of the Doctor Who. We're friends beyond that now because of it. You know, there are so many other people that I have such strong bonds with and I consider as close as family because of Doctor Who, but we have that love beyond this, you know, so it's really interesting seeing how Doctor Who, or the Doctor in this, you know, is the antithesis of that, you know, for them, you know?
Well, one element I wanted to bring up is I recently joined a Doctor Who society at my uni. And it started off with, you know, like Doctor Who quizzes, and it's all Doctor Who themed to a degree. And we have fun, we watch Doctor Who episodes, we bond over our Doctor Who creativity. And I suddenly started to realise, we're Linda. And I said that out loud when I realised it. This group, in how we've made our friendships, in how I found my partner, in how, you know, we bond over more than Doctor Who. We've expanded beyond that in how we talk to each other and what we talk about. And how we talk about grief, for example, how we talk about grief and how we talk about personal experiences in our lives, how we talk about our creativity, our joy, what brought us there. You know, all of that is covered in Love and Monsters, and you can identify that within the characters. And I see it whenever I go to the society. I see Love and Monsters, I see Linda, because it is. And it really made me realise how true to life this episode really is. Because I know when Russell was writing it and when people talk about it, they talk about the wilderness years and you know, the Fitz Allen and going there and a representation of Doctor Who when Doctor Who wasn't on. But even all this time later, in the society that I'm a part of, I can see Linda. I can see how true to life this episode is.
Exactly, yeah. And I think this is something which people forget as well. I'm not gonna talk about the general sort of attacks on showrunners that we see, which become more personal and horrible as the days go by. But what people have to remember is that these people are Doctor Who fans. Everyone who's ever worked on Doctor Who in some capacity is a fan of it. So it's, it's just important to remember that, really, I think, because they're just one of us. Whether you meet them at the BFI afterwards and say, oh, actually, they're just like us, So I think actually Linda is a beautiful representation of the Doctor Who society. People revile this episode and they go after these characters, but actually they're us. You talk about the grief there. You have Bridget breaking down and sharing her story about her daughter. Mr. Skinner sharing his creative endeavours. Bliss as well is bless. But
like Mr. Skinner, for example, he sort of can represent the people that look into Doctor Who, that they look into the TARDIS Weekly every week and, form timelines and tell their own stories based off timelines, or, they look academically at Doctor Who, which is quite exciting because I think there's quite a lot of people in this fandom that can resonate with that. But there's also quite a lot of people in this fandom that can resonate with Bliss. Bliss takes a more personal attachment to the Doctor rather than academic. And channels that through her sort of art and her statues and her idea of what art is. And I think that can very much represent a lot of people in the fandom as well, and how we do fan art and fan audios and fan films and all
exactly,
that.
Fan art, fan films. I always think of it as like, I've been talking to Star, for example, recently. She's been trying to put together a Doctor Who improv show, very much like, like Dropout, Game Changer and things like that.
Okay, I'm going to abuse my editing privileges for a moment because he mentioned it, but yes, I do have a Doctor Who game/improv show thing coming out. It's called Timey-Wimey Showdown. It'll come out later this year. I'm looking for contestants for episodes 2, 3, and 4. Episode 1 has all the contestants. I'm very excited about that. And if you're interested, let me know. I'm going to put it back to the podcast before Jack fires me.
It's really cool, and that's what I think is really lovely about in this fandom. It's really lovely to have those different niches as well. Like I think of Battles and Fandom, which you've been on a couple of times. Which that's my answer to a show like that. You have those different ones. You have Galley Cab, for example, as well, which is a wonderful experience.
Wonderful.
Which is again tapping into that Doctor Who niche, but through a different way of looking at something, which I think is fantastic, and that's what Bliss does as well, like with her art, with her songs as well.
Exactly, with her songs as well, there's I think, and Bridget, of course, as you said, she has suffered this big loss in her daughter and she's trying to find her, but you get to see her kind of exhibit those emotions and everyone comforting her, not to get too down in the dumps, but and to focus too much on traumatic memories. But when I lost my dad, that was when I was first entering the Doctor Who fandom, and it was having my friends there and getting to know more and more people and being able to express myself in settings where I had a group of friends who cared and listened, whether it be social events or whether it be just meeting up. It really helped. It genuinely helped. It was really wonderful. Even now, as the society, whenever I'm feeling down or wherever something's happening or I'm triggered in some sort of way, they're there for me, and people in Wales as well that are there for me as well, such as Jack sitting before me here. There's a lot of wonderful people in this community, and Love and Monsters really does highlight that. And it really, I think we can all relate to one of the characters, or all of the characters in some way, especially Elton. I feel like Elton is made to be the relatable one, but I feel like Mr. Skinner, Bridget, Ursula, of course.
Ursula, most likely to fight back.
She's a wonderful presence in the show that really complements everyone else, and she, in a way, I would say, is sort of the soul of Linda. It's when, obviously it's her connection with Elton as well, but when she is absorbed, you can see just a complete loss in Elton. And you can see the complete loss in everyone that's already been absorbed as well. I think, it's... I think she's the heart. I think she's someone that obviously she was a part of it already, and she reached out to everyone. In many ways, she formed Linda with Mr. Skinner, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Mr. Skinner, I think, is the one that she says recognises the Doctor, and then what's really cool about it is you also see them analysing the Doctor. You see Mr. Skinner with a picture of so he's a mix up, or they're a mix up of all these different archetypes, and you got like a clown on them, like that's literally that's and then Bridget says there are these different Doctors as well, which is lovely. That comes back into things we talk about time crash, obviously, because the fifth Doctor's at least aware of them. So
yes, he is.
But it's that scene of them when they're first singing ELO, and they're all performing there.
Don't bring me down.
Don't bring me down. And then what happens? The lights go
out, and Victor Kennedy.
Quite literally bringing them into darkness and bringing them down. It's Peter Kay obviously comes in, who at the time probably the biggest comedian on the circuit, is probably which
I would say so, yeah.
So a massive star beyond it, comes in with this wonderful sort of fake posh accent that he's doing there, which is which obviously slips away as we get into things later. And I'm not going to mention the name of look, people can Google it if you want to find out who he is, but let's face it, I don't want to bring this podcast down, but allegedly it's based on quite a controversial figure in the community, so I think it's quite funny that you've got all the light and love of this, and then suddenly they're being brought down by this person, which that's again maybe a bit true to life.
It can be. I mean, you were talking about online earlier. I mean, it can all get very hectic and all get very bogged down in especially when there's an echo chamber. Echo chambers pop up all the time. If anything, I think that's aged the most well. I think Victor Kennedy is a corrupting presence throughout the story, and it's his attitudes, his way of treating Doctor Who and the Doctor, and treating everyone else. And what we represent as a fandom is what I hope is one of love and respect and kindness and welcoming. But I would be foolish to say that it was that all the time. I mean, you go to specific places like Gallicab, and you go to the BFI, or or events in London or Comic Cons, and you'll meet the most wonderful people. But of course, there are people out there that will bring us down, bring groups down, that will sort of infect and corrupt. And that is very much what Victor Kennedy does throughout the story.
It does. It is exactly what he does. And I think it's interesting as well. I wrote it down as well. I said it's very funny how this passion project for them, this love, suddenly becomes work.
Yes, it's a chore.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's not about finding the Doctor for just because, or it doesn't even become about finding the Doctor anymore. By the end of it, they've just found a family, essentially, is what they found. But then suddenly it is a chore. He corrupts it to such an extent.
Victor has them sitting on their own tables, like apart from each other. Suddenly they're doing homework. And it's not just that, but he's very much corrupting Elton as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, Elton represents innocence.
Yes.
And that sort of childhood vulnerability that he hasn't quite processed yet, because he's still processing the death of his mum. But also just, he's found this group of friends, this found family that really brought out the best in him. He's embracing it, and he's sort of lost in it in a way.
Yeah.
And then it takes his arc on an interesting way, because then he has that wake-up call at the end, which of course comes from Jackie Tyler.
Yes.
But that very much links to Victor Kennedy and what he's doing to them. He's made it into work, he's made it into espionage and a chore, and he's actively getting them to manipulate people, and he's preying on Elton. He's preying on Elton's innocence there. He's preying on the fact that Elton should know better, but because of his way of life and his way of mind and what he's been through, he's trapped. He's trapped at that point in his life, and Victor Kennedy immediately notices that. There's a reason he doesn't go to Elton first to absorb. because he knows that he can use Elton. He knows that Elton is the most vulnerable in that group.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny is because Elton almost sleepwalks through it as well. Like when he finds Jackie and all that happens, like, you know, he's reading off the steps in his head. You know, we hear him talk about, you know, the steps of infiltration, but he's not actually having to do the work behind it because Jackie's latched onto him and going through that there, which is. Again, it ties into that whimsy, which he really shows. But again, yeah, in his head, he's still, you know, rather than just meeting Jackie, he's playing through the Victor Kennedy rulebook, isn't he?
He's actively manipulating her. It's Victor Kennedy getting Elton to manipulate, gaslight, and sort of etch his way into Jackie's life. Someone who is just as vulnerable, if not more vulnerable. You know, she's on her own. She's in a state of mind where a kid could be God knows where. And Elton learns this. Elton listens to her, you know, because he's not a bad person. Elton is not a bad guy. He's not someone who exactly sort of perceives what he's doing as bad. He perceives what he's doing still, even with all of the chores and everything, as a sort of love for the Doctor, a love for his friends. They're working together, you know. This is... I think even Ursula melancholically says, "Oh, well, at least we're close. We've never been closer." And it's kind of like, that was never the point. And it's when Elton stands up. It's when Jackie stands up to Elton, and then Elton realizes, this is what I've been doing. This is actually terrible. We've, we've went after this poor mother, poor Jackie, and we've used her. And you know, it's when he realizes that and he stands up, it's the culmination of his arc. And you know, it's obviously he's still got to learn about his mum's death, but that's the, you know, you could get to that point where it doesn't matter what the Doctor was doing. I think he even says it doesn't matter why he was there when he was a kid. You know, it doesn't matter why the Doctor was there. It just matters that he's got Ursula, he's got Linda. And I feel like that's really powerful. I feel like it's really normal and lovely, and a definitive moment for this episode.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, you know, we're talking about how, you know, that scene where Victor Kennedy comes down, he plays the sound of the TARDIS. So I love that scene so much. I love seeing the look in all their eyes, and you know, they say, "What is it?" It's the sound of the universe.
Oh, it's such a good scene.
It's, you know, and you can see it there. You know, Elton suddenly becomes like a dog looking for a bone. It's becomes this hyperfixation thing, which is, you know, like you say, you know, you have them saying, "Oh, well, you know, we've never been closer to seeing the Doctor." Elton, he gets wrapped up in it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, the issue as well. You know, and it is, you say later on, it's his character arc coming to a full circle when he realises what he's been doing to Jackie, which...
Yeah, we have the culmination, and then we have the emotional resolution, the closure. We have the culmination for him as a character in terms of his arc, and then after that we have the emotional closure that he needed to move forward.
Absolutely, yeah. I love as well how it, you know, it's cyclical in its nature, how we start the episode with the scene of him... Is it the Hoyks?
Hoyks, yeah.
The Hoyks, yeah. Like it comes back in Torchwood or something. I think at some point. Owen.
Isn't it Exit Wounds?
Yes, yeah. So that's there in it, isn't it? Yeah, and then
the Pandora opens, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah, the Hoyks apparently big.
Hey, it got an action figure.
Yeah, you know, it's true. Yeah, the Destroyed Cassandra got an action figure, Rory.
That is very true.
Come on, you need to lower. You need to raise the bar a bit, mate. Like
faceless granny.
Yeah, you know, I'm just waiting for disgruntled driver number 3 to get her. You know? For the next wave of character build your own figures, that'll be the one. There's a lovely little Torchwood reference there as well. You know, look in the Torchwood files, but they're corrupted by the Bad Wolf virus.
Bad Wolf virus.
You know, yeah.
There's a Harold Saxon.
There is
reference in this story on the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's weird because they reference the series 1, 2, and 3 story arcs in this one story, which I think is quite mad and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But they managed to reference all 3.
You know, it doesn't feel shoehorned in either. It's very much just if you catch it, you catch it. But so I think that's really lovely. I love as well how, like, when they realise that Rose is a girl from London, she's a regular Earth girl, you know, is from this time, and how they go out to scour and find it's going to be so difficult The joke of it being how difficult it's going to be to find her, and it just cuts to an old woman like, oh yeah, I know her, Rose Tyler. Let's up that with her mum, Jackie Tyler, Powell Estate. You know, nice family, bit odd,
Bit odd.
which is so wonderful. And then I think that brings us to the MVP of the episode, and in my opinion, every episode that she's in,
Oh, yes.
Camille Kadori.
Camille Kadori. I mean, she's amazing in this story.
I honestly think every episode of Doctor Who could only be improved with more Jackie Tyler.
Absolutely.
You know? And I've said it before. I've gone on record. I said it on stage at MCM Comic Con. Right? If the reality war had ended with the Doctor regenerating into Jackie Tyler's face, the entire fandom would have been, look, Russell will let you cook.
Yeah.
Will let you cook.
Honestly, yeah, no. I mean, I'm looking forward to Billy Piper, but also, like, Camille Kadori could be... Yeah, no, I would love to see her as the Doctor. I think she'd be brilliant. I think she'd absolutely, you know, be brilliant in that role.
It's
Genuinely.
off topic, but I'll say it right now. Here's my pitch for you, okay? It's never referenced in the episode that the Doctor looks like Jackie Tyler because the Doctor loathes it. You just get the Doctor looking in the mirror and going, oh, no. And then how does the Doctor... Because it's only going to be one episode. The Doctor has to go out, has to be final bout, a fade to black, hopefully for a new era, or whatever's going to happen, you know. Here's what happens. The Doctor thinks they're going to make it out. Suddenly a Christmas tree falls over, and the Doctor goes, I'm going to be killed by a Christmas tree! And that's the last words, fade to black. Yeah?
If I had £1 for every time someone's almost been killed by a Christmas tree in Doctor Who, I'd have £2. No, £3.
Yeah, it would, in that sense, yeah.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times. It's iconic that it's happened 3 times.
Oh,
But no, she really is the MVP of this story, though.
Yeah.
I mean, from the get-go, in the laundromat, I mean, the comedy of this story, it's...
Oh yeah, that whole scene where Elton's going through like the steps of infiltration in his head, but she's just doing it before he can do anything. You know, like, you know, the bit I always think about is when she's like, "Oh, Elton, look, only just met and flash you my knickers."
Oh, you don't get many Eltons. No, she really is iconic, and I think that's something that this episode does well as well. It balances the comedy with the seriousness. It might go a bit overboard towards the end.
Yes, yeah.
With good intentions, I will say, but it manages to balance, for the most part, the comedy with the drama, which some Doctor Who episodes can, of course, struggle with that. Some bits of any media can struggle with that. But I think this episode manages to do it quite well because it's so grounded, because it's so...
It's that human drama, which you like, you say, like, you know, I think... It's well intentioned, the ending. I think if you're going to pick anything
it's a
apart
love wins ending.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to pick anything apart, you're going to pick apart that part. But the actual real human drama, and I think what this does for Jackie as a character is also so interesting because we've only really ever seen her through like Rose, really. You know, right now we're seeing Jackie on her own and what life is like when Rose isn't there. You know, so we see her missing and sort of grieving Mickey in a way.
Well, you know, I think series 1 and 2 are just as much, you know, I mean, obviously Rose is the predominant driving force when it comes to character arcs, as is the Doctor, of course. But I think Jackie and Mickey have just as important roles to play in how the show is perceived and what it does, and the stories that they decide to tell. Without Jackie and Mickey, you don't get, you know, that grounded realism, that you don't get that relatability to Rose's life. But you know, and I think she's just as important. She's treated just as important, which I think is important for the show. You know, and this story highlights that. You know, her presence throughout is brilliantly written and brilliantly done. And how it goes, that phone call, the tragedy of the phone call that Elton listens in on, and that is sort of when it starts to click for Elton that this isn't right. This isn't okay. What we're doing isn't what we set out to do.
I know. Oh, it's such a beat, and Camille Kadori does it so beautifully. It's really funny because I can see it looking at it as a parent now as well. So I can, even though my children are very young, I can imagine getting that phone call and thinking, just the worry and just but also the worry behind it, like just needing to know that they're safe, just wanting to know what they're doing, but also feeling the tragedy of being left behind by them as well. It's you put so much into them and into their lives, and they are something you think about every second of your being. Like right now, I'm thinking about my kids. So it's when they're out and having their own adventures, it's really difficult then to take that back seat, which she has to do, obviously, but in a cosmic sense here, because she's traveling through time and space. I love as well. You have Delta reporting back, and we get the gang slowly being got by.
Yes.
Bless.
She deserves so much better.
She really does.
Just like even in terms of placement on the Absorbaloff.
Really, it's.
Why would you do that to Bliss? Like, that is something that I can sort of critique about this story, is that it can be quite masochistic towards its characters.
Yes, the whole thing of being absorbed by the Absorbaloff and being it's the old I have no mouth so I can't scream, isn't it? It's that sort of trope where it's like this absolutely horrific, genuinely horrific thing is done to these people that we grow to love.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's, and unfortunately that moment for Bliss is done as like a gag, isn't it? Which is, which I can critique that absolutely, because I feel like she probably deserved a bit more.
She deserved better than that. I think it's, we've just been, informed on these characters, and we've related to these characters, and now she's on the backside of the Absorbaloff and used for a fart gag. I think that's one of my main problems with that episode is that I don't necessarily have a problem with the fate of being absorbed. I think it's quite
it's very Doctor Who, isn't it?
Very Doctor Who, but also kind of symbolic. The Absorbaloff, he's absorbing all this information, and he's drained them. He's literally drained their personalities and absorbed it and taken it. He's taking on these personalities in many ways, or taking on Linda. He's quite literally taken over them and absorbed them. He's used them to his own ends, and I think
he has absorbed everything good about these characters.
Yes,
he's absorbed everything good about these people.
Yeah,
he's taken their light from them. We spoke about the scene where he literally does that, where when he first appears, it goes to darkness, and he's doing it in this sense as well, which is it's horrific.
When it comes to the standoff between him and Elton, and Elton's ready to give up, and give in, and I that's extremely tragic. And I think the episode does do that beautifully. One sort of funny note though, I love that he lets Ursula keep her glasses.
Yes!
Just like, how does that work? She has her glasses in his skin, and then she gets absorbed into the paving slab, and she still keeps her glasses.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, it's because it's like, are the glasses now made of flesh?
It's a great question.
Is that quite like is that uncomfortable for him?
How are they intact? How are they intact in the paving slab, for one? Because I get, okay, he's absorbed her, he absorbed the clothes, okay, the glasses were a part of that. But then he completely dissolves.
Yeah.
And then she appears through the concrete, and somehow her glasses are still intact. And when the Doctor fetches a spade and spades her out, is she how does that work there? I don't want to get into the logistics of the paving slab, because obviously it's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think that deeply of the glasses in the concrete or in his skin.
But it does bring up questions.
It raises a lot of questions.
It does. What also raises a lot of questions to me is Jackie's she really takes her time with Elton. You talk about how he's basically back there all that week, fixing bits and bobs, and it's quite funny that. And then obviously you get that final scene where she's playing Il Divo, and she has the wine. She's there. She's throwing wine in the shirt. Anything could happen. And then I think it's quite funny. Yeah, it's a horrible reason, because he's going back in there because of the infiltration. He's going back there because of that. but he's such a dork. When he goes back in,
such a dork.
It is hot, but it's about to get hotter.
Oh god.
And that's when we get that beautiful character piece that we were speaking about before for her, which is it's. I think it's funny as well because we are almost conditioned to think of Jackie as a less serious character. But at this point, yes, we've had some points like obviously I think of Aliens of London with her being like well, where were you with Rose, and it's like with that. But because of it and because of how the Doctor treats her as well, we're almost led to it being like, Jackie's back,
But, we do get a lot of heartwarming moments throughout series 1 and 2, when Rose and Jackie are talking about Pete.
Yeah.
In the finale. Or even during Father's Day, we get a lot of heartwarming moments. Obviously, a few comedic moments, but we get a lot of heartwarming moments there when, obviously, she says goodbye to Pete in that story, we get genuine arguments there between, actual... and I think there are actually kind of quite a few ties between Father's Day and Love and Monsters in Rose's rose-tinted glasses and Elton's, and how when they're actually confronted with what happened, and for Rose it's what her parents were actually like. For Elton it's sort of the realities of the world and how his mother died. I think, there's a certain grounded element in all of Russell's episodes in series 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, that, that those grounded elements really come through in all of his episodes. But in this episode in particular, Love and Monsters, it's incredible. I love it. I will always love rich character drama, like what happened between Elton and Jackie, and how it culminates as well of him getting pizza and her.
And I think that Russell at his best is when he's doing that. He's taking two characters and they're just talking.
Yes.
They're just...
Tiptoe, for example. Tiptoe. I'm currently watching it.
Love it.
I've heard nothing but great things about Tiptoe. I've just watched episode 1. It's great so far. Absolutely loving it. There's that one scene at the moment where two of the characters are talking outside the bar. It's the one that's posted on Instagram a lot about tiptoeing and how blood and retribution. I mean, it's he really, really masters it when there's two characters in the room. But he does such a good job. And Love and Monsters is a key example of that, I believe.
Yeah, totally. And it is that, I think, for me, it's my favourite moment in the entire episode is when Jackie has that speech after she's found out, she has that beautiful way. Just this once I thought, I'll pay. He's too good a guy. He won't, I'll slip a tenner in. Which, by the way, you get 2 pizzas for a tenner.
Oh, God.
Wow. 2006 was a different time, wasn't it? My God.
I wasn't going to mention it at the time, but I was 3 years old when this went out.
Don't.
Yeah,
don't
no.
worry.
No, don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that. No, I was 16, I believe, so I don't want to do that right now. But I love the betrayal she portrays so well, Camille Midori. The betrayal that Elton has done to her, and but also it's the betrayal of, to an extent feeling left behind by the Doctor and Rose, but even then she will still protect him beyond anything else, which is, I think it's really beautiful. Like even earlier when Elton was asking her about Rose, she was like, oh yeah, she's just travelling with mates. Didn't go any more into it just because she's so vehemently about keeping her daughter safe.
She has such a strong love for them, and such a strong protective love for her daughter and the Doctor. That's
there's that bit in Army of Ghosts where she hugs him and she kisses him and he has that it's just so good.
It's a beautiful dynamic and very brilliantly portrayed on screen. And Jackie is absolutely, she's gaslit, she's manipulated, she's violated, throughout this entire story. Her boundaries are consistently pushed. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's not exactly innocent in this story either in what she does to Elton, but there is that sort of grounded element there in how lonely she is.
Yes, yeah.
And how much she misses her daughter, and how and how they go through life, how Jackie goes through life, how Elton goes through life, but how Jackie goes through life is receiving phone calls while Rose is on the lost moon of Poosh or whatever,
Yeah.
and you know, doing her thing, and you know, you get that, and I think that beautifully, and I've used the word beautifully, but it really resonates all together, just like that concrete paving slab. It beautifully ties in to Army of Ghosts, when Rose and Jackie are having that conversation, and Jackie's telling her, you don't even, you know, sound the same anymore, and one day you won't look the same nor sound the same. You know, you'll be on some alien world out there, and you won't be Rose Tyler. You'll be, you know, like the Doctor. You'll become him. And I think that beautifully ties into Jackie's mindset in Love and Monsters.
It's really funny, isn't it, how this, you know, episode, people will sort of dismiss it, but actually, in terms of that character arc for the Doctor and Rose as well, and Jackie as well, obviously all coming to a peace and doomsday, it really does foreshadow a lot of things. Elton has that bit later on where he says that if you touch the Doctor, how much longer before Rose and Jackie pay the price?
I mean, that's a magnificently written monologue. You know, it's such... People focus on the love life sort of element, that sort of joke at the end. But then I think that's just a sort of addendum at the end. That's a happy ending, you know, love perseveres and all that. And it does go a step too far. I will agree with that. I think, you know, but obviously, would we really be talking about this episode for as long as we have if it wasn't for the staying power of the camp jokes, love,
Exactly.
like the love
and
life
there are some great quips in this. There are some moments which are really, really funny. You know, genuinely, you know, I think again, people discount it, but I think Russell does a lot of really good comedic work in this, you know.
Yes, absolutely. The Clom scene.
Yes.
What's the swim planet of Vaxigora Developtoris? Clom.
It's all. What's really fun? It's almost self-parody, that scene. It's almost doing.
Well, that's what this episode is. You know,
Yeah.
it is in many ways, it is a parody of this era, in a way that is done through a heartfelt lens, and one that isn't. You know, it parodies certain elements, a lot of elements, but it does so in a way that is heartfelt and true to Doctor Who, which, yeah, I love.
I need to come back to Victor Kennedy. I need to come back
Yes.
to Peter Kay, particularly as the Absorber-Loft, the reveal, which is what it is.
I mean, it's the genuine article if you really think
It is.
about
It is. I do have to. I have to bring something up now because I have very one-sided beef with Pup over this. I do very one-sided beef because obviously, you know, Pup went on to become this content creator, what have you, after designing this and winning this competition. Rory, the beef I have with Pup is because when they announced this contest was happening, I'd just turned 15. And do you know what the cutoff was, Rory?
Yep,
it was
I do.
14.
I do know what the cutoff is because I always wanted every Blue Peter badge ever. Every single one.
Yeah. So imagine me, 14, 15. This is my favourite show. This is my favourite show. It could even have been 13 was the cutoff, right? Okay? 'Cause Rose aired a couple of days before my 14th birthday. But anyway, imagine me there, right? My favourite show. There's an opportunity to design a monster. I have that opportunity.
I mean,
wrenched from my hands. And you know, to be fair, I don't know if even Pup's that happy with the portrayal, because I remember on record when it first happened. I think I don't want to speak for Pup. You know, I'm sure I'll get Pup on at some point to talk about it.
I know that for a fact that Pup, when he originally designed it, wanted it to be as tall as a bridge near Tesco, I believe.
Yeah.
Which was like a massive bridge. Well, not even that massive, but your average bridge. Because he was talking about in a video about the Absorber-Loft trying to be as tall as that, and obviously BBC budget. Yeah. No. No.
But it's quite funny as well how Elton has this sort of passionate scene pleading with this weird monster as well. You know, he's just, again, Peter Kay in a half a bloody Savine suit or whatever it is. I think it was made for this because the Savine were in
Oh yeah, no, it was
terrible
absolutely
despair.
made for this.
Yeah. But my God, it's just really funny. You've got Peter Kay there doing all the hamming and all the tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken.
Which, why does he know, like...
The genuine article... Well, he's been on Earth for a while.
I suppose, yeah.
Is he eating chicken in the TARDIS-ode? Because he's doing something in the TARDIS-ode. I can't remember.
I'd forgotten the TARDIS-ode, yeah.
Yeah, no, because he's that's when he's like looking into Torchwood, and that's when he hacks into all the files and everything. The TARDIS-odes were great. I want TARDIS-odes back.
I want TARDIS-odes back. I'd take TARDIS-odes, mini episodes, like the Doctor, obviously. We had that wonderful one before... the Bells of St. John as well.
Well, they've been uploading a lot of stuff onto YouTube in 4K. I would love the TARDIS-odes in 4K. They're going to have the original rushes for Love and Monsters, aren't they? They definitely are. I'm so.
If people haven't checked that out today, I'm sure it'll be up. But they've been doing that for Series 2, and it's been beautiful.
Yes. I've loved every moment of it.
This episode also highlights something which I've noticed becoming more and more. Since thinking about Day of the Doctor, there's that wonderful scene in the barn with the Moment and the War Doctor where the Moment says, that sound of TARDIS, everywhere it goes it brings hope, and the War Doctor says, I like to think it does. And she says, even for you. Yet again, Elton's there, he's just about to accept his fate. Mm-hmm. And what happens, Rory?
The TARDIS appears. The sound of the TARDIS echoes throughout the scene. And it takes its time, but it gets there. Mm-hmm. And then the Doctor and Rose standing tall come out. And it's really, a lovely sort of moment. And then Rose comes out and says, you upset my mum.
I love it. The Doctor comes out and someone wants a word with you. Mm. And you think he's come to sort out the Azorth. No, he's come because Rose is going to tell off Elton.
It's comedic, but it does immediately ground the episode again. It reminds you what it's all about. It's not about some absorbing creature that's defeated remarkably easily, and I believe intentionally easy, because he's not the focus. Mm-hmm. He's not the focus of this story. The focus is Elton. And how Elton, in the end, once he's realised everything, and once he's gone through his character arc, he's the one that inspires them all.
Yes, yeah.
He's the one that brings Linda united. He unites them. That's what he does. And Ursula then goes on to lead the charge. Mm-hmm. Hence why I think the combination of both. I know I said Ursula is the heart, and she truly is, but it's what she brings out in Elton, what Elton brings out in her.
Maybe if Ursula's the heart, maybe Elton's the soul.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's my... Yeah, no, I'm going to retcon that into the conversation.
Lovely, yeah. Talking about the Azorbalof's death scene, which obviously it's so horribly tragic that we lose these characters that we've grown attached to. But his death is kind of metal. The way... Oh, it's great. The way he just zooms down, but then it sort of pulls out as well, like a tidal wave. You can see sort of chunks, and then it just gets absorbed in.
And I like the cane. The cane and how it's throughout the episode, that foreshadowing there. The comedic foreshadowing throughout the episode is great. The eczema.
You can't hit me. You're eczema.
But it also makes sense. It makes sense as an ending. It's well put together. The cane is creating a field that means that he's not absorbed by the earth. Yeah, that works. That's a great ending.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think it needs any more than that. People will attack a Doctor Who episode for, let's say, the resolution being away of the science screwdriver, which I think can be very fair in some circumstances. In this, no, it is literally those people that care most for Elton pulling together.
Yes, it's the power of love versus monsters, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really annoyed. I literally have that written down here, and you got to tap it for me. Damn it!
No notes on my end. It's all in the brain.
I love as well how I've said love so many times, but how you have that moment. Elton's just looking at what's left of his found family, essentially, and Rose, who came into the scene to tell him off, comforts him and holds him. You see why Rose is that companion, because she's able to put her own stuff to one side and comfort this poor grieving man who...
Again, I think there's definite ties to her arc. There's definite ties to her character arc in Father's Day. You know, especially in how how he's comforted about his mother.
Yeah.
You know, I know the doctor's doing that mostly and revealing everything, but she's there holding him. I think there's ties to how compassionate Rose is, and a lot of people like to talk about Rose in series 2 in an unfavourable way, but I don't. I think she's a brilliant character throughout. I think she's a very realistic character, a very, you know, amazing character throughout, and I love her dynamic with everyone. But I think her dynamic with Elton and how it shifts in this scene is, yeah, it's wonderfully done. It's a wonderful depiction of Rose and how she treats people. You know, she, at the end of the day, she's lost people that she's loved, and she can see, you know, she immediately asks, who was she?
Yeah.
And then Elton's broken response, it breaks my... Even knowing the end of the episode and knowing what happens next, you know...
Again, I think it doesn't take anything away from that, because when I think about it, Ursula's fate is a bit more horrific than certainly the episode paints it to be.
Yeah,
you know?
it certainly is. It's never depicted in a way that's kind of like happy endings. You know, it's a bittersweet ending overall. And I do find it questionable that the Doctor would do that.
Yes.
I find it questionable what the Doctor sees as a quality of life. But I don't think we're supposed to look that deep into it. But I do think...
And again, I think maybe you could play into it a bit as well, it being... Let's say there's ever a novelisation of this, which, my God, I hope there is.
I hope so too.
I want every Doctor Who to be novelised.
I want to talk about that, definitely. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but like, you know, if you were going to do that, you could really, really play upon that unreliable narrator there. You know, where you could have what actually happened. Maybe it's Elton begging. You know, maybe I don't know. I don't think I want that actually, because I think that paints Elton in a really unfavourable light.
It twists things. You don't want to.
Yeah.
I think the arc of the character is so concise and so clear. There are certain elements of unreliable narrator there, but I think what works with that is that it's not through the lens of malicious or malicious intent. It's through the lens of he's lost his mum, and he's still inside, deep down, the boy that found his mum's body.
Yeah, I really think there's no better shots and there are some great shots in this episode, but as well, some really fantastic cinematography. But there's no better shots than when you have the Doctor, who does look straight into the camera a couple of times, as if he's looking at Elton. We are literally seeing through Elton's eyes,
through Elton's lens,
and he has that moment where he goes, "You don't remember, do you?"
Yeah, no, and I'm glad that when Elton meets the Doctor and Rose, at first they're towering over him, you know, they're defeating the bad guy. That's their focus at the moment. They're barely even, you know, acknowledging Elton in that moment, other than to, you know, give him the inspiration to lead the charge. But then once all that's over, they sit next to each other, you know, they're right next to each other, they're on equal level. The Doctor, this character that he's mythologized and sort of looked towards his entire life, looked for answers his entire life, has led to this very moment, and he sat next to him, and he's just calmly telling him, you know, they're on equal level.
Yeah, it's
that complete mythology of who the Doctor is immediately deconstructed, and it's immediately put to the wayside. It doesn't matter who the Doctor is. It doesn't matter what he's done, what he goes on to do, Time Lord Victorious or whatever. It matters that at this current moment he's comforting Elton.
And it's always been about that closure he gives Elton, because that closure he gives Elton is what I think Elton's really been seeking, because it gives him the ability to finally process and come to terms with his mother's death. You spoke about earlier that beautiful swell of Mr. Brightside as you see little Elton
running up to his mum,
and then his mum turning and fading away. She starts walking across the field. And then
Elton's left on his own.
I cried when I watched it earlier today, which is quite funny. Sat in a classroom watching it on BBC iPlayer, but
I can't quite remember the order of events, but we get that lovely scene of Elton, you know, his mum goes off into the distance and Elton's left on his own, and then we get Elton talking about his friends. And I think that's a wonderful... I don't know if that's specifically how it goes, but it's a wonderful sort of chain of events in how Elton realises that while this was about the closure when it came to his mum, well, it really became was him finding his found family, his friends, you know, the people that mattered to him, the people that, you know, for a short amount of time, but such a precious amount of time. And I think that's what's important about this as well, is that it wasn't a long amount of time that they knew each other, but it was probably the best time in Elton's life.
Absolutely. And that's what the episode ends on. That's what he basically, his final point is really beautiful. And unfortunately it does get really bogged down with the conversation about the, you know, look, the bit of a love life analysis. We don't need 20 more years of that joke being analysed, do we? Let's face it.
But like when he turns around and says, salvation and damnation are the same thing. And he goes into that monologue about how the Doctor's life will one day impact Rose and Jackie. And you can immediately tell the remorse he has for Jackie.
Yeah.
Not only in how he stood up for her earlier, but in how he's talking about all of the characters then. And then you really get the culmination of the story. You get the themes spelt out to you, but spelt out to you in a beautiful way. And I know I've said beautiful a lot, but it is. It's lovely. It's this lovely scene where he literally looks into the camera. He's looking right at you and he's telling you that, you know, life is all of these things. Life can be so dark and so depressing and so grief-stricken, but then you find these people, you find these friends, and you go on these adventures, and you go on these everyday adventures, and you form a cover group, and you have tea together, and you go out and you have Chinese together, and you do all of these wonderful things. And that is what this story is about. And that is also wonderfully done throughout the first Russell era as well. Sarah Jane Adventures. It's the same core message. Adventures on Earth. Normal, everyday people and love and whimsy and joy. That is what love is all about. That is what life is all about. And also the pain, the darkness, the grief, the sadness, the melancholy. That is what life is all about as well. It's about one can't coexist without the other.
Say what's life's all about again, but it's Peter Davison, please. Come on.
Can't quite do a Peter Davison impression, but it is what life is all about.
It is,
you know.
It is, yeah.
And I think that's wonderfully done in this story. I think I resonate with all the characters. I resonate with the setting. And yeah, no, it's such a lovely story.
Really, really is. It's, again, underrated doesn't quite cover it, because I think what people, we come back to it over and over again. It's the characters, it's that story, it's their journey through this. I think if people focus more on that and less the well-intentioned sort of mess that is that bit where there's all those chasing and obviously the design of him. Look, I can't, you know, it is what it is, you know, but, and it's so wonderfully Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But I understand any criticism of that. But if you look at everything around it, there is a cracking episode here, and there's a cracking story, and it does so much for all the characters.
Everything I've heard, every idea I've heard that could quote unquote fix this episode, all well intentioned and, you know, all wonderful. But, you know, I've heard some really dark ones, like Victor Kennedy should have just been a serial killer or whatever. And I'm kind of like, this is Doctor Who. When I was 3 years old when I watched this, as I've mentioned many times, and see you just completely crumble whenever I do.
It's fine.
But I was, you know, I was a young kid, and I still remember it. I still remember Doctor Who at the time. And, you know, the Absorbaloff was, you know, it was there for me, you know, it was there for me growing up, you know. It was there for every kid that was watching it, you know, then, you know, that needed an Absorbaloff in the story. And, you know, it's not needing, you don't need to, you know, throw in all these elements for kids. I think, you know, Doctor Who can be alien light or monster light or, you know, joke light and still work for kids. But I think the Absorbaloff is that sort of, it does make it, you know, it's that Doctor Who element in the story. It's, you know, it's wonderful.
And I think that there's a reason we're still talking about it today. Not just us on this podcast, but as a fandom. Every few days I see a reference to it in some way or another. I do. It is appreciated, and I do think it is constantly reevaluated, as all Doctor Who past is. You know? But we're here talking about it 20 years on. and I think it's aged incredibly well.
I think so
you
too.
know? So
I do.
Yeah. It's one which I really do hope to see a Target novel for.
Yes,
you know?
I
Again,
think when it comes to a Target novel, have it as an actual diary, not a video diary.
yes.
That could work. You can still have the video diary elements in it, but you could include
It could be the transcript of the YouTube video,
Yes.
couldn't it? You know, it could be that. You know,
or and maybe with like notes around it from
yes.
Elton. Or Elton. It could be still has to be from Elton's perspective.
Yes, yeah.
You can't do a thing where you can switch perspectives because that damages the story.
Yeah.
But having it be a mix of the video transcripts, but also journals and actual like Elton chronicling his life, and you can expand upon his time with Linda. You can expand upon what Victor Kennedy was doing there, because
Yeah.
it's not expanding on the story in a way that's sort of adding to it in terms of like, we know that there's time there that can be opened up. This is a story that spans over that time. It's still adding to it. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's kind of like it's expanding upon it in a way in that you're just looking further into it. You're not adding any new elements to the story. You're looking at it through Elton's lens chronologically.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that could be really wonderful.
And I think you have one of two writers.
Mm-hmm.
You either have Russell has the time to come back and do it himself. Failing that, Joseph Lidster would do a
I think
fantastic
Joseph
job.
Lidster would be amazing writing that. I think the way that Joe captures that everyday life in his stories, the way he captures those darker themes but also balances it with comedy, I reckon he could do an amazing
You
job.
can trust Joseph Lidster to write two characters having a dialogue.
Yes.
You can trust him to write Jackie Tyler.
Oh, absolutely.
My God. You know? So yeah. Okay.
No, and if you really wanted to go ham with it, you could include, because of course when this story was originally being devised, there at least, I think they were planning on including classic elements in there as well. Like Elton's mum was going to be holding a plastic daffodil. Or
Yes,
there
of
was
course,
going to be
yes.
there was going to be a Dalek invasion in Shoreditch.
Yes, that's true.
during that,
they were going to really tie it back into the mythology, weren't they? Which
Yeah.
they stopped it because the BBC were a bit like, it's a bit too early to go.
I'm glad that they did. I'm
Yeah.
glad that they didn't do that. I would have appreciated a daffodil.
Yeah.
A daffodil would have been
You know?
great, because that would have been a slight sort of reference. But I think overall, if they really wanted to do that in the novels, I wouldn't be opposed. But I think keeping it as focused as it can be, staying true to the story, but also just expanding upon it in character ways. It's a character piece, and I think there's plenty of room to expand there.
Absolutely agree. Well, I tell you what, we've had a lovely discussion about it. I'd rate this episode very highly. I'm not going to give a rating to it because sometimes I feel like it just doesn't do a service to even rate it. I think it's just to say, I enjoy this. I love this.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement now. I'm not going to rate it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to stop and we're going to head on over to the Space-Time Telegraph. Okay, so well, obviously you'll have seen it anyway because you'll be watching this episode. But the Star did quite a interesting job on the thumbnail this week, which it was. I mean, I did ask for it.
Yes, you
And
did.
this, I did specifically say, yeah, I'll let you do it this time. So it's, there's quite a lovely edit of myself as the Absorbaloff.
Oh, it really brings out your eyes.
Yeah, it's quite haunting actually, isn't it? How blue my eyes are. And for anyone that's been asking, where is Robin? You now know where he is as well, bless his heart. So so the Space-Time Telegraph is always the point I go to where I ask our audience to send in their thoughts and feelings about the episode. I asked her on socials this time. I said, coming soon, we're celebrating 20 years of the widely adored, not at all lambasted Love and Monsters. Jack is joined by Love and Monsters superfan Ruaidhri Guest. Love it or hate us, help us make the pod and tell us your thoughts below. And we had a couple of lovely responses. First one comes from someone who I'm a big fan of actually. This comes from Hamish Steele.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, who is a wonderful creator. Obviously, people will know Hamish for their work on Dead End Paranormal Park.
Yes, of course.
Dead India and all the things. Also, Go Man, which is a wonderful sort of anime or manga inspired children's book as well, which people should absolutely check out. So please go check that out. Hamish says, it is genuinely one of my favourite episodes, an ode to the wilderness years and how bad fans can ruin a good thing for everyone. One of Russell's richest scripts, and then there's the paving slab.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. No matter what we've spoken about throughout this episode, I think that sums it up. I think it's obviously everything we've talked about still is valid, but that sums it up.
That essentially is it. That's really, again, it is such a rich script, just as Hamish says there. And yeah, it comes back to that. It really does. It's the one thing you can't escape about this episode.
No, you can't ignore it.
You can't.
Like, if we were to have this conversation and we weren't bringing up the paving slab, it just wouldn't. It
would have been really funny if we beforehand had said, look, we just never bring it up. And people are going, wait, what's going on? And then we did like a thing at the end there. Next one is from the Howdy Beans podcast. Wonderful friend of the show. Says, I'm one of the few people that love and appreciate this episode and see it for what it is. It's not great, but it's not bad. Yeah. I respect that. Yeah, I totally respect that. And I think that's...
I think we have gotten to that point where revisionism has kicked in. Or maybe, I think it was during the pandemic, I would say, when more and more people joined Twitter, that there is a certain level of revisionism when it comes to Love and Monsters, especially everyone that grew up with that story is now on social media and talks about it lovingly, because there will always be a certain level of revisionism with a lot of Doctor Who, the majority of it, and Love and Monsters is no exception to that. So, to be honest, I wouldn't even say that while it's still a Marmite story, I would say that, I wouldn't say you're in the few anymore. I think more and more of us come out of the woodwork. I'm waiting for it to happen with Kill the Moon, because I love Kill the Moon, which, Yeah. Okay, next one comes from another friend of the show, Cian the Quark. Cian says, Doctor Who should just bring back Peter Kay. Not ever as the Absorber Laugh, just bring back Peter Kay. Yes, I take that. Peter Kay does a wonderful performance. He's a wonderful comedic actor in his own right as well. I saw him in The Producers years ago on the stage. Oh yeah, he was fantastic in that. He played the director Roger in it. It's a wonderful show and it's a wonderful musical. He was fantastic in it. But Doctor Who has a great thing of bringing in comedians to do fantastic roles, whether it be Catherine Tate, John Bishop, Frank Skinner,
yeah. Lee Evans as well, obviously, that's more of a comedic character, I know, but still,
there's plenty of examples there. I think Peter Kay could suit any other role, really.
I think there's a conversation that I'd love to see. James A. Caster's my big one, I'd love to see. But also, actually having to think about it, another comedian I really love, because of SNL UK, George Fouracres. Oh, I would love that. Honestly, just bringing all the SNL. Yes, absolutely. All of them. George Fouracres, massive Doctor Who fan though. Literally, so anyone who hasn't seen it, I saw George Fouracres on his Instagram story, catching up and reading, following the first series, picking up Doctor Who, the Target book. Like, what? Honestly, just bring in all of the SNL cast and all of the Ghost cast. Yes. And then... that's my biggest pitch for years was I'd only ever accept a Doctor Who Ghost crossover if it was like for children in need or for comic relief, in the conceit that is the TARDIS lands, the ghosts are all reacting but the Doctor can't see them. So they're all freaking out and essentially beat this like ghostly alien and the Doctor just ships off like that, which I think would just been perfect. That would be wonderful. Next one comes from another massive friend of the show, and technically on the An Awful Lot Running team as well, Tilly. Tilly says, hello from the basement nobody checks. You guys really need to get me out of here. The cold and abandonment is starting to get to me. Anyway. Womp womp. Sorry, go on. Anyway, my totally non-biased review of Doctor Who in the exciting adventure with Peter Kay. It's alright. Like, it's not offensively bad. It's not the best episode ever made. It's just okie dokie. Like, words cannot describe how just okay it is. Sure, there's the moment we all joke about, which is probably about as far as the episode really leans into weird territory, but overall the thing is just another episode of Doctor Who, to be honest. Like, if we're really being honest with ourselves, Love and Monsters isn't even close to being the worst episode of Doctor Who, not by a long shot. I agree with that.
I can
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Absolutely agree with that.
Personally, like to believe this episode has the Lux problem of people getting angry that the fandom has just been represented accurately. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to disagree with that either, actually. No.
Anyway, I'm handing over to whoever's next here. Here's hoping it's Kat. She probably have something far more interesting to add than this. Goodbye, brush your teeth, and don't give your address. I wasn't going to say that, sorry, Tilly. Okay, right. And you'll be happy to hear, Rory.
Mm-hmm.
There is one more response.
I am very happy to hear.
And it is from Irmaster, or the Master, enemy of the podcast, Catherine Wheeler.
Ah, yes.
Bonjour, mon très cher docteur. For some reason we're French now, but okay.
Yeah.
I am rapidly closing in your location. Look out the window. I'm serious. Rory,
Just there she is.
she might actually be. I'm not even joking. Oh my god. She's actually sent a photo of the building not 2 minutes ago.
What?
No. Please say she's actually there, because that would be hilarious for the bit. That's very funny. That's very funny.
That's incredible.
I'm gonna send you the photo she sent, Star, of where we are, which is very funny.
That's wow.
Wonderful commitment to the bit. Haha, I'm joking, just a silly joke. A big summer joke. I'd never interrupt your podcast, but I do know where you are. I love Love and Monsters. I'm not taking the piss. It was one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who for years. It's the perfect story of a fucking sinister concept for a villain when you think about it. It's grounded. It's reflective of real people and real relationships and how their lives are shattered by random, unstoppable forces they are at the mercy of and they are at the mercy of and are totally unable to stop. I always mess up when I do Cats one. I don't know why. Think about it. Either Ursula is immortal and will suffer forever trapped inside a square of concrete, unable to move or feel, witnessing the heat death of the universe, or she can die. What would she die of? Whatever it is would be seriously horrible. The people who were absorbed all had families and they all had to die a horrific death, not once, but twice. Elton has to live with this his whole life and the responsibilities of caring for his girlfriend who is beyond human medical care. He has no one to look after him. He can't move on and he's probably insanely traumatized. This is why I love this episode. It has a grim, hopeless reality at its core. It's in the same vein as the Doctor Fools when you think about it. Yes, they're in the same category. I will not tolerate bullshit takes that misunderstand this episode. And yes, if you hate it, then you're boring. La mort de ton maître.
Well, damn. You know, it's a very valid point that, it's ironic that Ursula's fate isn't concrete, you know. She deserves a new slate, you know. She really, yeah. That's enough of rock puns for the moment. I don't know what to add, really. I'll leave that to you. I think
Kat's summed it up pretty well, hasn't she, to be fair? So and again, I think it just highlights everything we've said there about, there's obviously some horrific fates there, but it's wonderful as an episode beyond that. And I think I don't think I've ever seen it compared to the Doctor Falls before, but
no, I've never seen it in the same category.
I kind of fuck with it. I'm not going to lie. It's a bold statement. It's a bold statement, and I'll back her up on it. Yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. Well, that has been the Space Time Telegraph, and thank you everyone for your wonderful responses. That's been lovely. And that's going to take us on over to the Cannon Buster. Oh, Rory.
Oh, I've missed this.
I love Cannon Busters. Don't you love Cannon Busters?
I do.
The tasty morsels, as I call them. I always say that to Robin, that I'm giving him a tasty morsel, which is, it's his little golden nugget at the end of this episode. It's like his participation prize, which is, really, really lovely. I've spoken about it before, but I do want to talk about the legacy of the Absorbaloff.
Yes.
Because obviously, when we talk about the Absorbaloff, it does have a legacy within the show beyond just this episode. Whether it be Clom being referenced a few times, who won Clom? Who won Clom?
Clom's referenced a good few times.
Yeah,
it comes back.
It really does. Obviously, we have legacy in the sense that Davros asked the Doctor how many have died in your name, and we have a flashback to the Absorbaloff victims. Thankfully, not to Bliss on the Absorbaloff's backside.
No, poor Bliss.
Poor Bliss.
She didn't even get a flashback.
She didn't even.
Did she get a flashback? She got
No.
one. No.
Not then. But then apparently, as well as that, and this is because of lockdown, we had the genuine article, which is that lovely little animated lockdown short they did, which they did in February 2021. They did a tweet along for Love and Monsters, which was lovely. And then we had the genuine article, which featured the Absorbaloff's son.
Yes.
Which is very funny as well, because it was actually written by friend of the show, Dom G. Martin, and directed by William Grantham, aka Pup, who is obviously the creator of the Absorbaloff. So it's quite lovely to have that sort of, snake eating its own tail. And it is a story where the 10th Doctor meets the Absorbaloff's son, and it is a cracker.
Oh yeah,
it is a very funny little, just a little thing, and yeah, it's just a lovely story as well, which I think people should check out. People need to look at those lockdown little videos they did more, and they need to be re-examined. I cannot tell you how many times I've rewatched Goodbye Sarah Jane.
Oh God, yeah.
Which breaks me every time. So yeah.
Me and my partner just watched. She's just watched Sarah Jane Adventures for the first time, and we immediately went on to that. I mean, those lockdown videos are a staple of Doctor Who. They are.
Yes.
They are really well made, and just a real sort of lovely sort of collaboration within the fandom.
Yes.
And within the show itself, that really highlights what we're about.
It really is lovely, because you see that one. You see that when it's fans working on it, but then you've also got other ones which have fans working on, but then David Tennant's still doing a voice, or Pearl Mackie doing a voice. It's really something lovely. My God, there's an entire one where you have Arthur Darvill sat pretending to do a video diary himself, and you hear Karen Gillan as Amy shouting from off the camera.
They're all really wonderfully made, but also, I think Love and Monsters was a perfect episode for a lockdown, purely because of the themes, and I feel like the themes of Love and Monsters really tie into how we all collaborated in lockdown, and how we all talked to each other in lockdown, and how we all found Doctor Who in different ways in lockdown, and how it kind of became more than that. It became more than Doctor Who. We I found a lot of friends. I met most of you through lockdown. And a lot of that, the core sort of ways that we would do it, remind me of Love and Monsters.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
We all came together to watch Doctor Who, all together frequently, as as a massive group of Whovians. I mean,
and it's something. It was a massive. We look back on it now. It is a massive traumatic.
Hugely traumatic.
All our lives, this massive dark time. So it was so lovely that we were able to come together, and just for the love of Doctor Who. And there's so many friendships. You and me, for example, we found each other through lockdown. Personal history. We became friends because of a blooming Big Finish trailer.
Yeah, Dalek Universe.
Dalek Universe, Shout out to John Dorney. Thank you so much. You'll be on the show at some point.
We became friends through lockdown. Then I did the first guest of this podcast. And from there, I really started meeting people in 2021 once, lockdown was obviously. But I started making projects in 2020. And, went from there. And it really is in a similar vein to Love and Monsters in how we communicate as fans and how we meet as fans, and I think in how we created in the pandemic and how we bonded through the pandemic in terms of Doctor Who brought us together as fans, yeah, there's definitely some mirrors and parallels that can be drawn to Love and Monsters, which then again shows how timeless the character dynamics are within that story.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm going to jump on that lovely point by saying the last time we hear the Absorbedloff's legacy, which hopefully at Christmas he's back. You know, who knows?
Who knows?
You know, that maybe the Absorbedloff is the boss.
Hey, I mean, to be fair, and at the time of recording, the unit website has been doing tie-ins to Series 2, so I think we'll get at least some sort of reference to the Absorbedloff.
Oh, we definitely will.
Maybe the remnants of the cane or the paving slab. We could get Ursula's fate, Ursula's final fate in the next.
Maybe she works a unit now. Maybe she's plugged in next to the Blinks.
Maybe her and Elton broke up and he donated her. He
brought her to the companion support group in a Tesco bag.
Tesco bag.
But the very last time that Absorbedloff has been referenced in the main show currently is in The Timeless Children. Mm-hmm. Whilst in The Matrix, the 13th Doctor remembered, amongst many others, the Absorbedloff in order to break out of the computer system. Which brings me to my final point. Is the Absorbedloff a pre-Hartnell Doctor?
Ooh. I mean, maybe. Well, maybe. I mean, you know, anything can happen. And while I personally believe that he's not, I'm sure there'll be some sort of headcanon out there that
He's
would be.
actually the 67th Master.
Christ alive. Someone get me off this podcast.
Well, don't worry about it, Rory, because luckily the Cannon Buster does mark the end of the podcast.
I was joking, like Sarah Jane in The Hand of Fear, who didn't really want to leave. Mm-hmm. I was joking.
Yeah, I'm going to drop you off in Aberdeen after this as well, not Cardiff. But no, thank you so much for doing this. This has been on the books for a long time, and it's quite serendipitous that we've managed to do it for the 20th anniversary of this lovely episode.
Yes.
Before we go, please plug your stuff. Please talk about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, for one. I mean, it's been truly amazing, and it's good to be back. I'm Ruaidhri Guest. I'm currently doing a Masters in Directing. Within the Doctor Who fandom, I make fan audios and fan films, but I'm sadly retiring from that very, very soon, hopefully next year.
It's truly a dark day for the Doctor Who.
I do a series called Dark Days.
Oh, do you?
And within it, my final episode will be a culmination of a project that has been going on since 2021 called Endgame of the Doctor, which later became The 100 Doctors. And it's a story that, you'll never guess what, has 100 Doctors in it. Or at least will, once I'm done with it. But that'll be my final release, and that'll be out hopefully next year. I was trying to get it out this year, but this year ended up being way busier than I could have ever anticipated. Outside of Doctor Who, I do directing, sound editing, the occasional writing, and I want to just do everything and anything. I want to be, a jack of all trades, as it were, but mainly directing. That's my passion. That's who I am. And it's been good to be here. Brilliant to be here. Amazing.
Oh, well, thank you so much. With that, I'll just say thank you very much for listening. I've been Jack. My guest has been the wonderful Ruaidhri Guest. Thanks for listening. Ta-ra for now.
Ta-ra.
Hello, you awful, awful people. Thank you for listening to An Awful Lot of Running, a Doctor Who podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, then please consider liking, subscribing, sharing on social media, or even leaving us a review on YouTube or your chosen podcast platform. It really does help us out an awful lot. And we greatly appreciate it. Seriously? We greatly appreciate it. An awful lot. Okay, who writes this? Honestly, who writes this? Okay? Look, it's bad enough doing the Tom and not be paid, but come on, guys. What do you want me to do here? You give me no script, and you expect me to go what? Oh, right, okay, that should be enough. Alright, bye.